Okay, so for this deep dive, I want to start with something a little different, a visualization exercise.
Oh, interesting.
And I know that's not how we usually kick things off, but bear with me because it really sets the stage for everything we're about to get into.
I'm in.
I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that you are sitting at a small table,
Mm,
maybe a quiet coffee shop, maybe a park bench,
okay.
and sitting in the chair directly opposite you is your younger self.
It's such an evocative image right off the bat.
Yeah.
It immediately puts you in a specific headspace.
It really does. And I don't mean some, generic version of youth. I mean you.
Mm.
Maybe you're picturing yourself at 16 with that terrible haircut you thought was cool and just
Yeah.
crippling social anxiety.
Or maybe at 22, staring at a laptop, trying to figure out a career.
Or even younger, a kid who thought the world was simple and fair.
And the thing that usually happens when people do this, and the source material really emphasizes this, is that the reaction is just immediate recognition. You don't just see them, you feel them.
Right. You know that person's fears intimately. You know exactly why they're biting their lip or why they can't quite make eye contact.
You know what kept them up at 3 a.m.
Because you are them. And now, in this visualization, that younger you leans across the table, looks you dead in the eye, and asks just one question. What should I know?
That is such a heavy question. What should I know?
It just cuts right through everything.
It does. And that question is the anchor for our whole deep dive today. We're unpacking a really profound text called Lessons, Regrets, and the Wisdom We Gain Over Time.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I want to be clear up front. This isn't just a nostalgia trip or some session about wallowing in regret.
No, no.
Stick with us, because the source argues this exercise isn't really about the past at all.
That's the critical distinction, isn't it? It's so easy to get lost in the woulda, coulda, shoulda trap.
Exactly.
But what's fascinating here is the argument that this exercise reveals how we process wisdom. The source makes a great point.
Right.
Wisdom is almost exclusively born from experience, and experience is rarely comfortable. That's a very polite way of saying we usually learn the most when we're miserable.
Essentially, yes. Comfort is great for rest, but it's terrible for growth.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this interesting paradox the text highlights right at the beginning that I think we really need to unpack.
Okay.
We have this tendency to judge our younger selves so harshly. I mean, with a harshness that doesn't make any logical sense.
How so?
We judge them using the wisdom that we only possess because of the mistakes that younger self made.
That's a bit of a brain twister, isn't it? Circular.
It is. We look back at a decision made at 20 years as dating the wrong person, taking the wrong job, and we say, how could I have been so foolish?
Right.
But without those foolish years, without those specific wrong turns, you wouldn't have the perspective to even make that judgment today. You are literally standing on the shoulders of your younger self's mistakes.
It's like yelling at a toddler for not knowing how to drive a car.
Exactly. They haven't learned it yet.
So our mission today is to flip that script, to replace that judgment with compassion. We've pulled out 7 key lessons from the source insights that usually take a lifetime to learn, and we're going to try to hand them over to you right now.
The goal is to shortcut the timeline, really, to extract that wisdom so you can apply it to your life today instead of waiting another 10 years to figure out the hard way.
Okay, let's dive into lesson number 1. If you could send one message back across that table, the source suggests it should start with this. Stop trying to be who everyone else wants you to be.
And this sounds like something we hear all the time, on coffee mugs or whatever.
Totally.
But the text goes deeper into the psychology of why we do this. It speaks to the biology of youth. When we're young, the text notes that belonging feels essential. And it's not just a feeling. Evolutionarily, it's survival.
Right, because if the tribe kicks you out, you don't survive the winter.
Exactly. So
Oh.
approval feels like safety.
Mm.
And because of that deep-seated need, we adapt. We become, shapeshifters.
We perform specific versions of ourselves for our parents, a different version for our teachers, another for our friends.
We unconsciously learn that to be accepted, we have to meet these external metrics.
I think everyone listening can identify with that specific type of exhaustion. It's physically tiring to keep up an act. It's like wearing a costume that's 2 sizes too small.
It's incredibly draining. The source calls it a quiet disconnection. It's that gap between who you actually are and who you're presenting to the world.
And the reality check, the hard lesson, is that constantly shaping yourself to fit a mold doesn't actually guarantee the happiness you think it will.
No. And here's where it gets interesting for me. The takeaway isn't just a cheesy be yourself. It's realizing the cost. The source argues that the cost of that external approval is your own internal peace.
And with time, you realize something liberating. Not everyone needs to understand you.
And more importantly, not everyone needs to approve of you. That is a jagged pill to swallow when you're 20 and you just want everyone to like you. But the text argues that authenticity brings what it calls sustainable peace, whereas approval is just a fleeting dopamine hit. Authenticity is solid ground. Approval is quicksand.
So the message to the younger self isn't just be you. It's more like you are allowed to become your own person, even if that person confuses the people around you.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, moving to lesson 2. This one. This one hits close to home for anyone who's ever felt like they're falling behind. It's about the pressure to have it all figured out.
Ah, the myth of the linear path. The idea that life is a ladder, you just climb one rung at a time.
Yes. When you're young, you look at adults, successful people, and you project this narrative onto them. You assume they always knew what they were doing.
That they had a master plan locked in since kindergarten.
Exactly. It's just never true. The source clarifies this so well. It points out that very few people have a master plan. Life is a series of adjustments, detours, accidents, surprises.
But when you're in it, say you pick a major you hate or take a job that's a nightmare, that wrong path feels like a disaster.
It feels like wasted time. You panic. You think you've ruined the whole schedule.
That's the anxiety talking. But the text reframes this as data collection. Choosing a wrong path isn't failure. You learned what you didn't want. You learned what environments make you miserable.
And that is incredibly valuable information.
Information you couldn't have gotten any other way.
Yeah.
You have to touch the stove to know it's hot sometimes.
There's a specific phrase in the source that I highlighted about 3 times. It says, clarity often comes from movement, not from certainty.
It's such a strong line. We so often sit parked, waiting for the perfect map before we'll even turn the key.
Exactly. We think we need to see the destination before we start walking. But the lesson is you just need to move. The view changes as you move. You can't steer a parked car.
Waiting for perfect certainty just leads to paralysis. Movement leads to discovery. And that actually transitions perfectly into the third lesson, because what usually stops that movement?
The fear of failure.
Oh, yes.
In high school or college, failure feels apocalyptic. A bad grade, a rejection. It feels like an indictment of your soul. It's not, I failed a test. It's, I am a failure.
That's the limited perspective of youth, where every event feels permanent. But the source argues that with time, we stop seeing failure as a definition and start seeing it as instruction.
Instruction. I like that reframe. It takes the emotional sting out of it, makes it almost mechanical.
It does. It becomes feedback. Okay, this approach didn't work. Why? It teaches resilience. It teaches adaptation. And honestly, it teaches humility, which is a very underrated survival skill. The text points out that so many things that felt like endings, getting fired, getting dumped, were actually just redirections. They were the necessary shove toward the thing you were supposed to be doing.
So the message to the younger self isn't, you won't fail. It's actually, you will fail and it will be okay.
Precisely. The advice is, don't let the fear of failing stop you from living, because realizing you can survive disappointment is a superpower.
How so?
Once you know you can take a hit and keep going, you become much more dangerous, in a good way. The worst case scenario isn't that scary anymore.
Okay, let's unpack lesson 4. This is where things get a little more existential. It's about the one resource we can never, ever get back.
Time, the currency of life.
When you're young, time feels infinite. It's this abundant ocean. Remember summer breaks that felt like they lasted a decade? You can waste entire weekends because there's always more where that came from.
It feels renewable. But the harsh wisdom we gain is that it is strictly non-renewable. And the shift the source advocates for here isn't panic, it's intentionality.
I want to clarify that because usually when people talk about time is short, it turns into this whole hustle culture anxiety thing.
Okay.
Does this mean we need to be hyper-productive robots every second?
No, and I'm glad you asked that. The source is very clear. Protecting your time doesn't mean filling every second with work. It means being intentional about what deserves your energy versus what just drains it.
It's about recognizing that, as the text says, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives.
That quote always stops me in my tracks.
It's the small things, right? It's not just the big graduation days. It's a random Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly. If you spend your Tuesdays angry or doom scrolling or trying to please people who don't care about you, and you do that for 10 years, well, that becomes the texture of your life.
It's guarding your attention like the limited currency it is. It's asking, is this worth my life? because that is literally what you were paying with.
Which leads directly to lesson 5. If time is our most limited resource, where should we invest it? The source is pretty unequivocal here.
Relationships.
This is the lesson that so often comes too late. We spend our youth chasing the tangible stuff, grades, trophies, promotions, and goals are important, sure.
We're not saying don't have ambition.
Not at all. But the source notes that relationships shape the emotional quality of our lives far more than any accomplishment on a resume.
It mentions that success feels hollow if you're standing at the summit alone.
It does. But here is the kicker, and this connects to the regret part of our deep dive. When they research regret, it's rarely about the work. One of the most common regrets is about words never said.
That's powerful. It's the "I love you" you felt too awkward to say, or the "thank you" you just assumed the other person already knew.
We assume telepathy. We think, oh, they know how much I care. And the source says, don't assume. The message to the younger self is, invest in people. Tell them what they mean to you.
Don't assume you have forever to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is awkward, but regret is painful. Choose awkward.
Choose awkward. I'm going to write that down. That's fantastic. Okay, moving on to the internal game. Lesson 6 is about the voice inside our heads.
The inner critic. The roommate that never moves out.
Yeah. The source talks about how young people have this incredibly harsh, vicious inner critic. They believe they need to already be the person they're still becoming.
That's such a distinct pressure of youth, that impatience with your own growth. We berate ourselves for not being perfect yet. But the text redefines self-compassion here. We often think of it as soft.
Like letting yourself off the hook. Oh, it's okay you didn't do the work.
Right, that's the misconception.
Yeah.
But the expert perspective here is that self-compassion is actually a form of high-level emotional intelligence. Think about it. If you beat yourself up after a mistake, you enter a shame spiral. You stay down longer.
Whereas if you treat yourself with kindness,
You recover. You look at the mistake objectively, you fix it, and you move on. Self-compassion actually allows for speed. It allows you to get back up faster.
you'd never scream at a friend the way we scream at ourselves.
So the message is, talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love. It sounds simple, but I think for a lot of listeners, that is the hardest challenge on this entire list.
It requires practice. You have to actively override that default setting. And speaking of overriding default settings, let's talk about lesson 7. This one tackles a huge misconception about confidence.
Ah, yes. The waiting for confidence trap. This is one of the most common reasons people get stuck.
We all do this. We think, I'll apply for that job when I feel confident, or I'll ask that person out when I feel confident. We treat confidence like it's a prerequisite for action.
Like you need to fill up the tank with confidence gas before you can drive the car. But the source argues this is completely backward.
How so?
Confidence is usually the result of action, not the cause of it. You don't get confident, then act. You act, you survive the discomfort, and then you gain confidence.
So it's the exhaust of action, not the fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every time you take a risk, every time you survive that awkwardness, you expand your sense of what's possible. You prove to yourself, oh, I didn't die. And that evidence builds confidence.
So the advice isn't wait until you're ready. It's do the thing you're afraid of while you are still afraid.
Yes. Action creates the feeling you're waiting for. If you wait until you feel ready, you will be waiting forever.
Okay, so let's recap. We have these 7 lessons. Authenticity, uncertainty, reframing failure, time, relationships, self-kindness, and Eckerd. Action before confidence. But here is where the text pivots.
This is the synthesis of everything, the compassionate truth.
Yes. So when we look back at that younger self across the table, that teenager with the bad haircut, we need to realize something profound.
They didn't have the tools we have now. They were navigating the world with limited information, a developing brain, and a lot of fear.
They weren't failing, they were becoming.
Beautifully put. Instead of asking, why did I do that? We should be asking, what was I trying to protect? What was I still learning?
That shift changes regret into understanding.
It does. And this leads to what the source calls the powerful shift. This is the part that gave me chills.
Yeah.
It asks us to stop looking back for a second and just look in the mirror.
And the question becomes,
Are we becoming the adult our younger self needed?
that's a heavy question.
It is. Think about that scared teenager. What did they need? They needed someone who protects their peace, someone who takes chances, someone who speaks kindly to themselves when they mess up.
They needed an advocate.
Yes. And today, through your choices, you get to be that person. We are still in conversation with that younger self. The source argues that when you choose to be kind to yourself today, you are, in a weird way, healing that younger you.
You are finally providing the safety they were looking for back then.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for the listener right now? We can't actually time travel. We can't go back and fix things.
No. But here is the reveal, and the source says this is the most surprising part of the whole exercise. When you list out the advice you want to send back in time,
Be brave, protect your time, be authentic.
you realize something instantly.
It's the advice you still need right now.
Exactly. You still need to be brave, you still need to be authentic. The wisdom isn't just for the past, it's a roadmap for the present. The struggles change shape, but the core lessons stay the same.
Because, as you'd remind us, we are always standing on the edge.
We are. And this is the final mind bender. No matter your age, you are standing at the edge of a future self. 10 years from now, a future you is going to look back on today.
Wow.
They will have clarity about your current struggles, your job stress, your relationship worries that you don't have yet.
That is a wild thought. Someone is going to look back on me right now and think, oh, if they only knew.
Exactly. You are currently the younger self to a future you. So instead of just dwelling on the past, the source leaves us with one final, provocative question.
And that question is, what will your future self thank you for starting today?
It shifts the focus from regret to agency. It empowers you. What choice can you make today? What risk can you take that the future you will look back on and just say, thank you?
That is something to mull over. Maybe it's making that phone call. Maybe it's being honest about what you want.
Or maybe it's just being a little nicer to the person in the mirror. Whatever it is, you don't have to wait. Start today.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.